about it. So, the bounce knocks up when an enemy Pokemon is paralyzed by Dragon Breath. Like you do this and then you bounce, they get stunned. It just doesn't say anywhere. It's so weird.
Okay, so about 2 to 3 very important things to note here, all in regards to Aqua Tail. It is always advised to count the Aqua Tails that are dished out, as will be made clear within these specific details. Simply put, 1. You can be taken out of Aqua Tails phasing through opponents' attacks. It does not have innate armor. 2. Aqua Tails max hits are 5 with Stage 1. Stage 2, aka the final hit, only happens after Stage 1 is partially completed, at least 3 hits executed on opponent/farm, where then 3 equals no Stage 2/final hit. Keeping this incredibly important point in mind, which was also somewhat noted earlier but not in full depth and detailing, these are your recommended course of options. 3. Depending on the circumstances you find yourself in, pick what is most optimal to you based on that specific scenario between mainly these 2 options. Both of these options are optimal, but again, the circumstances you may find yourself in will require the right option to be picked between the 2. A. Do not go to Stage 2/1 of the last 3 landing asterisk hits of Aqua Tail, Aqua Tail 3 and does not hit against opponent S/farm. You can voluntarily choose to just use the 1 or 2 hits of Aqua Tail in the Stage 1. This allows for what can be referred to as the final hit skip, where you intentionally skip the last hit possible, Aqua Tail 1 only or Aqua Tail 1 and 2, in order to go straight into Aqua Tail cooldown. Choose wisely the amount of hits, 1 or 2, you want to dish out before either throwing out another aggressive option like Waterfall, basic attack, etc. Or otherwise escaping/retreating/otherwise defensive option here. B. Go to Stage 2/1 of the last 3 landing asterisk hits of Aqua Tail, Aqua Tail equals 3 and hits against opponent S/farm. This is where you decide to go to the at least one of the last 3 landing asterisk hits of Aqua Tail. This means that you are now within the second stage of the move, which can be charged optionally for a very short period of time or not charged. The following information is very important. You do not have to attack someone with the final hit, Stage 2. There will be times where just wasting the final hit, aka not keeping it stored in Stage 2, which does eventually wear off but takes a while, on nothing, will be far more optimal, as it puts you back on Aqua Tail cooldown immediately. In other words, your main goal is to get back to Aqua Tail's cooldown as quickly as possible in order to be able to have it ready to be used again whenever most suitable. You do not want the final stage of the move to just remain there and take up even more time before the cooldown timer actually begins to gain back the Aqua Tail eventually. You want the final hit gone as soon as possible and as optimally as possible. So if an opponent needs to die with the charged or uncharged version of the final hit, go for it. Take your time. But if there is no opponent or the situation does not call for the opponent to be hit with the move, just waste it, typically meaning to use it on nothing, and get back to the cooldown for Aqua Tail ASAP. Also to keep in mind that you can also use the Aqua Tails at any point, in most cases, even during the Aqua Tail tech that fires Aqua Tail 1 during Waterfall 1, Waterfall 2, Aqua Tail 1, Waterfall 3. To turn Gyarados around to follow up in conjunction into Waterfall immediately, somewhat like a B-reverse in terms of the idea of turning the player around. A good thing to note is that with regards to the final hit, Stage 2, criteria noted that is necessary for it to happen, the game only needs to register at least 3 hits on any opponent/farm for it to activate. That's literally it. Normally you just decide to either go for 1 or 2, option A, or 3 direct, option B. But there are ways to mix this up. E.G. You can go for 2, land the 2, then miss 1, and land the next one, which would be the 4th Aqua Tail, and still get it to happen. Or even things like going for 2, landing the 2, missing 2, and landing the last one, which would be the 5th Aqua Tail, and still get it to happen. I.E. It only matters that a third is registered hitting either an opponent and/or farm within that specific phase. The third hit that causes the activation of final hit/Stage 2 does not need to happen strictly sequentially. Whether you decide to miss these hits intentionally for whatever reason is up to you, but it's somewhat not advised, as you can quite literally just stop firing Aqua Tails after 1 or 2 hits as noted down in option A. Additional note, as of current patch, I've noticed that you have to get off the final hit in time if you're planning to do that before the move expires and Aqua Tail goes back on cooldown. If you do not get off the final hit in time, E.G. go for the charged option of it that requires precise and quick timing due to the quickness of the charged's nature. It can expire while you're charging and not give you the second hit due to the expiration. The safest way to get around this is to simply not charge the final hit, but where the extra damage may come in handy might be worth the risk depending on the specific scenario. Eject button is essentially the perfect item to go with this mon, as it gives Magikarp enhanced survivability as well as allows for Gyarados to have the same, as well as providing an extended dash with the eject for each individual form. There is also an eject button tech for the final stage, at least get the last third of the bar only slightly to cause it to trigger, similar to Meowscarada where you eject after the ULT is out and it extends the hitbox. Gyarados also has a nifty tech where, due to his charge mechanic that goes with his ULT, You can technically just press the ULT once and you still gain the effects of the armor and the rest of the ULT effects due to the move still having technically gone off. This is very situational and only worth it where you want sudden armor as well as the rest of Gyarados perks for using said ULT at stage 1. These buffs include 30% movement speed, 30% CDR, 20% max HP shield. I can refer to this as the burst ULT or burst unite move.